Hello everybody, this is Irene Weisman, immigration attorney. Today is February 14th, Friday, February 14th, 2025, Friday. Happy Valentine's Day. It's almost 9 o'clock at night and here I am working. It's been a crazy week. As you noticed, I just didn't have a chance to go on, so I wanted to go on now and just talk about this week, what's been going on, sum up the week, and I had various very interesting consultations that I wanted to talk to you about, and each day I had one. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on and I'll talk about it on YouTube, and of course I just didn't have a chance. So maybe today will be a longer video. I will try to sort of sum things up, talk about various things, and see where we get with this, okay? So, in summary of the week, there hasn't really been too much as far as, new executive orders that relate to immigration or anything like this. There have been a lot of activity that we hear from practitioners. Things are happening to their clients, things happening in communities. There have been a lot of detentions going on by ICE, and not necessarily for people with criminal convictions, and that's concerning, but it's, obviously people that do not have status. So many people have been let go, many people have been released by ICE after after the detention. That's definitely happening, but some people are not released. Obviously the ones that are most vulnerable are the ones with the criminal convictions. I also have to say, even if it was dismissed, especially if it's a repeat, if the first conviction, if the first arrest and charges were dismissed, and then you have a second one right now and it's pending, I do see ICE detainers. I'm seeing it with my clients, especially on the more serious charges. I'm seeing it with consultations. Even if you know that something is going to get dismissed, if a person is undocumented, I am seeing ICE detainers on that. So just, obviously, if you can, just please stay out of trouble. Please stay out of the areas where you may get accidentally detained with somebody who may be committing a crime, or, who may be doing something they shouldn't be doing. Those things, I guess, are kind of obvious. I'm not gonna stay here and, tell you how to live your lives, but, that should be the obvious, crimes that, you shouldn't be committing crime. What else am I seeing? Travel. Let's talk about travel. So lots been going on with international travel, and so travel on advanced paroles. So it's been a hit or miss. Pending 751s, especially in removal proceedings. I'd probably say I'd caution against travel at this point in time, because we are seeing various ports of entry, various airports giving people a hard time. If you do have a criminal conviction and you're a green card holder and you're traveling back and they take you to secondary inspection, most likely you're gonna get detained, okay? So that's been going on. Travel on advanced parole. At this point, I'm gonna say, if you don't have to travel internationally, wait, okay? Just, wait for it. There have been many instances where people with DACA or, pending adjustment cases, no criminal arrest, and they've been traveling and returning to, or TPS, no criminal issues. People traveling, returning back, no issues. I would probably caution against travel if somebody has an order of removal and TPS. I would caution against travel at this point in time, okay? And then, we'll just, as time progresses, hopefully we'll have more information on that. There have also been instances this week, at least I've seen it, where a case is pending and a person travels out on advanced parole, and people are looking on their, my USCIS case status processing time. Oh my God, it tells me that, they're gonna adjudicate my case in 3 weeks. Oh my God, it just says 4 more weeks left. Oh my God, yesterday it had 3 weeks. Today it says 4 months. What's going on? So don't go by my USCIS time projection, okay? They're just wrong. They're completely off, okay? Completely off. So there have been instances where people thought that they would be getting approved. They traveled on advanced parole when they traveled, or actually it said, your case is going to be adjudicated in the next 4 or 5 months. They decided to travel on advanced parole, and there was a denial in after 5 days. Okay, so they're abroad, case is denied, we have a problem. Okay, so point is, my USCIS case processing times, not a good idea to go by them. Okay, just don't. Okay, talk with your lawyer. We all have, we approximately know how much, how long things take place. Sometimes we see unicorns where things are adjudicated at a much faster rate, but on the average we have an idea, right? And that can always change. Look, again, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have seen a marriage case, marriage adjustment of status, being adjudicated, and it was 2 years when I first started practicing. Then it moved down to 1 year. Then there was a period of time where it would take 3 or 4 months. I have had cases where my client would receive a green card before their employment authorization would come. That's how fast things would be processed. There was a period of time like that, okay? Then it slowly increased again. So, it just it was all over the place. Then in the last 2 years, we went to no interviews. We're probably going back to interviews being scheduled, although I have to say I am still seeing some cases being approved without an interview. There's less of them right now, but it's certainly happening still. I don't know where we will be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, but right now there are still some zero-issue cases that are very well documented that are being approved without an interview. Okay, we'll see what happens with that as time progresses. Okay, updates on expedited removal. Once again, if the person gets stopped and it no longer has to be within 100 miles of the border. It can now be anywhere in the United States, and it cannot be determined that they have been continuously physically present in the United States for the past 2 years. Then they could be placed in the expedited removal, and the 2 years would start on the date that you basically have been apprehended and determined that you do not have that lawful entry. Okay, so just there are ways potentially to fight it, but certainly can happen. Okay, and we do see it happen. As I've mentioned on more than one occasion, if you have documents filed, okay, if you have an asylum application pending, if you have any other application pending, please have a copy of the receipt notice, approval notice, receipt notice. Have it on you, have it in your phone, designate a folder in your phone, label it, I don't know, important documents, whatever you want to label it, okay, so that it's easily accessible to you. and you can show it, and you can prove that either you've been physically present for longer than 2 years, or that you have a pending application, or something is approved, or something is going on, or whatever. So definitely have that. As far as immigration court is concerned, there's a lot going on there as well. There have been a lot of memos. For the most part, I mentioned most of them on my shorter segments as they come out. I talk about them. I think a couple of weeks ago I mentioned that the immigration court practice manual was changed, and there was some weird language about service on DHS, that it now has to be done in person or by mail. So yeah, they realized they made a boo-boo, so they got rid of that. So they're back to service on ECAS through the court's electronic system with a certificate of service is good. So, and it makes all the sense in the world. So I'm glad they caught on to their mistake, and that's good. Rejection of incomplete asylum application, that's going to be a big one. I already talked about that, but just please keep that in mind. It's never been a good idea to submit a bare bones application, but now they've been directed to reject those applications. Okay. And now I want to move on and discuss the various consultations that I've had this week. And one had to do with, it was a 601A waiver case, okay? So somebody who was present in the United States without inspection, they're married to a U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen spouse submitted the I-130. I-130 was approved. They submitted an I-601A application for unlawful presence to waive that unlawful presence, so that subsequently that person can go home abroad for their immigrant visa interview. Been married for a while. They have kids together. Okay, the undocumented person has a good job. Okay, they've been paying taxes. They have a tax ID. They've been paying taxes. They have a good job. I don't know why. Okay, beats me. But instead of going to an experienced attorney, they went to a notario to do the 601A, and notario submitted just the 601A and like a half-a-page statement signed by I don't even know who. Okay, nothing else, zero. It was an empty case. Okay, now let's talk about legal standards for approval. Extreme hardship to a qualifying relative. Okay, it's a discretionary waiver. Okay, just because you submit the application and pay the government fee to process it doesn't mean they're going to approve it. The burden is on you, okay, the person who needs the waiver, to show that you qualify for the waiver. Okay, hardship, okay, physical, medical, financial, psychological. Okay, regular separation is not hardship. Okay, never has been. There has to be more. Okay, there just has to be more, and it has to be to the qualifying relative. So there is a way, there is a methodology as to how these cases are done. It just so happens that in my 20 years of practice, I have done a lot of these waivers, whether it's 601 or 601A. I don't know, I just do many of them for many different reasons, okay? There is a specific methodology. You have to do them a certain way. You have to provide documents, lots of documents. You have to document the hardship. That's how you get those cases approved, okay? And the processing times for the 601A, they're like 3 years, okay? So imagine this, it's been processing for like 3 years, and this person comes to me with an extensive request for evidence. I'm like, well, you gotta show us that you qualify for this. Nothing was submitted, nothing, okay? So 3 years have gone by, it's an empty case, they're now stuck with an RFE. They have very little time to respond to this RFE, okay? And it takes time to gather all these documents, okay? It just simply takes time, especially on the, believe it or not, the better cases where there's medical issues and you have to go to doctors and get letters from the doctors if kids have IEP plans or any other issues. You got to get all that stuff from the schools, from the doctors, from the social workers, psychologists. It just takes time. And people work, people go to school, people have lives, kids, whatever. It's going to get difficult to get this done in a very short time frame. But that's what this family now has to do, because instead of going to a lawyer, they went to a notario. And honestly, felt like, they just signed, they had no idea what they signed, and submitted it, and they thought that it was all good. Oh, we submitted the pardon, that's it, it was done. And it's not done, and it's a big deal. And the problem is that it was a very good case. Okay, there is a lot of hardship, B, a lot of discretion. But think about it, while this is pending, things can happen, right? You can get arrested. You can, anything can happen, okay? It's too bad, okay? Try to do things right the first time around, okay? Just please, don't go to paralegals, don't go to notarios. They don't put their signatures on those documents. They're not responsible for it, it's your case, okay? And another very interesting consultation that I had was with somebody who received withholding of removal a long time ago, 18 years ago. And she's been receiving her employment authorization. She's been doing it herself. And she called me and she was completely panicked, and she was confusing the proceedings that she had 18 years ago in immigration court, the removal proceedings, and her employment authorization, USCIS, not realizing that it's two different agencies. And she said that, she submitted her employment authorization and she didn't receive her receipt notice back, and she got concerned. So she went to an attorney in the neighborhood who just said, "Oh, did you know you've been removed?" And she just panicked. She's like, "But I don't have removal. Withholding was granted." And as she's sitting in front of me, and I'm trying to explain this to her, well, you realize that withholding of removal means you have an order of removal. You just, asylum was denied, but withholding was granted, meaning that the judge thought that you can't return to your home country because it is too dangerous for you to return to your home country. And, yes, withholding is an order of removal, but you have the right to stay here and you can receive employment authorization. And, if another form of relief will become available to you, then we'll have to reopen, that order of removal. We'll have to reopen that court case and see if we can legalize you based on that something new. She had no idea that withholding meant that she had an order of removal. And, it seemed like she was scared off by somebody else who just tried to scare her off into things. And then she's like, "Yes, but then I'm calling, this 1-800 number and it says removal." Is like, "What are you trying to do?" And really what she was trying to do is she was trying to figure out what's happening to her employment authorization application, but she was calling the court's immigration court hotline. And I was like, "Well, you're calling the wrong number." So, just helped her figure it all out. She felt much better, which was great, but just, it was very interesting that, for 18 years she didn't understand that withholding meant she had an order of removal. And, please understand that that's what it means, okay? And please understand that there are different agencies within USCIS. And if you're seeking, if you want to figure out what's going on with an application that you have filed with USCIS, then you're going to call USCIS, and it's a different phone number and it's a different system than immigration court, okay? It just turns out she didn't receive her notices. We requested duplicate notices, straightened it all out, so hopefully it will all work out for her. So with that, I will leave you probably until next week. We'll see what that shall bring. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I will talk to you soon.